I'm Sarah Woodbury. I've written over 40 novels inspired by Welsh history and mythology, and I love all things medieval, which is why I'm here today at Inchmahome Priory. Inchmahome Priory was founded as an order of Augustinian monks on the largest of 3 islands in Lake Menteith, Scotland. The priory has only ever been reachable by boat. In the Middle Ages, particularly the 13th century, a lot of Scottish history revolves around a conflict between the Commons and the Bruces. The Commons and the Bruces were both vying for the throne of Scotland at various times. At various times, they ended up on opposite sides of the war for Scottish independence. Sometimes they fought together. Sometimes they were appointed as guardians of Scotland with the intention of choosing the next king. Still visible today are the ruins of the church itself with its processional doorway, its choir and bell tower, and the chapter house. The priory was built on the low-lying eastern half of the island, while the Earl saved the western half for a garden for his own estate. There is evidence that a church existed on the island before the building of the monastery, which hosted many kings and lords of Scotland over the next centuries. The Comyn family was one of the most powerful in Scotland during the 13th century, supporting John Ballio's claim to the throne and the English King Edward I during his conflicts with the Bruce family. In the case of Inchmahome Priory, it was founded by Walter Comyn in 1238. Walter was a second son, so he didn't inherit the lands in Badenoch. And unfortunately for Walter, when he died, there were indications that perhaps his wife poisoned him, which called the entire inheritance of Inchmahome into question. On a certain level, you wouldn't think that owning a priory would be that big of a deal, but all of the lands around here belonged to the Earl of Menteith, which Walter had been. Within this conflict for who would be King of Scots, other lords took sides. For example, the Commons sided with the Balliols, and John Balliol had been appointed King of Scots by King Edward of England. On the other side were the Bruces and the Stuarts. And somehow, after the death of Walter, a Stuart became Earl of Menteith. Because the Stuarts and the Bruces were allies in this conflict about who would be King of Scots, when Robert Bruce murdered John Comyn in a church in 1307, it was here that Robert Bruce came for absolution. Inchmahome also provided a haven for Mary Queen of Scots when she was 4 years old, after the defeat of Scot forces in 1547. She stayed for only 3 weeks, but her name remains attached to a boxwood bower in the middle of the island. Cassie and Callum, in my book Exiles in Time, part of the After Kilmetty series, pass through this area and briefly consider using Inchmahome as a refuge. Thanks for watching my video. You can click on the playlist or subscribe to my channel to see more. There'll be a new video next week. If you want to check out my books, click on the link to my webpage.